I want to say thank you to all the incredible women who have paved the way and who have advocated for themselves and for other women. Among them is...
You know what? Coco Gauff is calling it a night. That's unfortunate. Just the second time Coco Gauff has retired.
I never expected this. Eala's shocking rise, Coco Gauff's tragic exit, and the Filipino fans taking over Indian Wells. Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, your ultimate, undisputed #1 source for the spiciest, most thrilling, and absolutely jaw-dropping updates from the tennis world. Today, we have a story that has absolutely everything a sports fan could ever ask for. We are talking about shocking upsets, a terrifying mid-match injury that left the crowd in stunned silence, a rising superstar who is flipping the entire script on the WTA Tour, and a fan base so fiercely passionate they are literally turning the Californian desert into a home court advantage. You might think the loudest cheers at the BNP Paribas Open are reserved for global heavyweights like Carlos Alcaraz or Jannik Sinner. You might expect the paparazzi and the flashing cameras to only follow the likes of American darlings like Coco Gauff or Amanda Anisimova. But grab your popcorn, folks, because the tennis landscape has officially been flipped completely upside down. The biggest draw at Indian Wells right now is a 20-year-old phenom who is single-handedly carrying the pride of an entire nation on her shoulders.
Eala, the teenager from the Philippines who didn't have to play today.
You're calling it.
She's winning the tournament.
Eala?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Why do you say that?
Mic drop from...
Her name is Eala, and what she just did on the prestigious courts of tennis paradise will leave you absolutely speechless. Let's set the scene for you, because you really have to picture this to believe it. Indian Wells is traditionally known for its pristine courts, its breathtaking mountain backdrops, and its polite, golf-clap crowds sipping expensive cocktails in the warm California sun. It is a place of quiet focus, of hushed reverence, of measured applause reserved for extraordinary shot-making. That is the Indian Wells we all know and love. But over the last week, a complete and utter cultural takeover has happened, and the tournament organizers are still trying to pick their jaws up off the perfectly manicured desert ground. When world number 31 Eala steps onto the court, the atmosphere suddenly transforms from a serene, sophisticated tennis match into what feels like a heavyweight championship boxing bout right in the beating heart of Manila. The stands are absolutely packed to the brim, transforming the bleachers into a vibrant, undulating, breathtaking sea of red, blue, white, and yellow flags. Fans are chanting at the top of their lungs, screaming with every single point, banging drums with relentless enthusiasm, and bringing an electric, deafening energy that has even the most seasoned, veteran tournament organizers rubbing their eyes in pure, unadulterated disbelief. We are talking about thousands upon thousands of people generating the kind of wall-to-wall noise that makes the concrete vibrate beneath your feet and sends chills straight down your spine. Speaking exclusively to Front Office Sports in a recent sit-down interview, Eala made a stunning, deeply humbling admission that captured the hearts of everyone who heard it. She confessed, looking genuinely moved and visibly emotional, that she never expected this kind of support. For a young player who was grinding it out on the lower challenger circuits and ranked outside the top 100 just a year ago, stepping out of that tunnel and seeing thousands upon thousands of passionate Filipinos braving the chilly desert nights just to watch her warm up is an experience that transcends sport entirely. Eala described the overwhelming backing as something incredibly, almost indescribably special, stating she had absolutely no idea that so many passionate fans were standing so firmly, so devotedly behind her journey every single step of the way.
I am really privileged and thankful that I'm able to introduce kind of, this new world or new, sporting world tennis.
For Eala, this is no longer just a tennis tournament. It is a full-blown movement. She is experiencing that rare, spine-tingling, once-in-a-generation sensation of carrying the collective hopes and dreams of an entire country onto the baseline with her every single time she walks through that gate. It is an overwhelming reality that very few athletes in any sport ever get to taste in such a profound, deeply personal way. And watching her absorb it, process it, and then channel it into pure competitive fuel is one of the most compelling storylines the sport has produced in many years. And let me tell you something very clearly right now. Eala has been giving these fans absolutely everything they paid to see, and then some. She is not just showing up to wave at the crowd and soak in the adoration. She is going to absolute war for them on every single point of every single game. Just look at her gritty, grueling, gut-wrenching, absolute white-knuckle roller coaster of a second-round match against world number 52, Diana Yastremska. This was not a tennis match in the traditional, elegant sense. This was a pure, unadulterated, raw test of physical survival and mental fortitude that pushed both players to their absolute breaking point. The battle raged on for a staggering 2 hours and 43 minutes, making it the longest, most exhausting match of the entire day on every single court at Indian Wells. While the desert temperatures plummeted into the cold night air and the biting wind started cutting through even the thickest jackets in the stands, the Filipino faithful did not budge a single solitary inch from their seats. They stayed glued, roaring with desperate urgency after every single point, every breathless rally, every perfectly disguised drop shot. Eala ultimately secured a thrilling comeback from the brink 5-7, 6-4, 7-5 victory, rewarding the fans' extraordinary patience and loyalty with a masterful display of mental fortitude that the sport's top psychologists would study with great interest. In her post-match press conference, a visibly exhausted but absolutely ecstatic Eala told reporters that seeing her people make the immense effort to stay up late, freezing in the stands in the cold desert night just to cheer her on, added an entirely new, overwhelming layer of emotional power to her victory. She said it was the ultimate catalyst that pushed her across the finish line when her legs felt like concrete and her lungs were burning. That spectacular, gutsy, hard-fought win proved once and for all, beyond every reasonable doubt, that Alex Eala is not just a flash in the pan. She is not just riding a lucky hype train. She is a certified, battle-tested warrior, and the tennis world is now being forced, absolutely forced, to sit down, shut up, and pay serious attention. But if you thought the Yastremska Marathon was the peak of the drama at this tournament, hold onto your hats so tightly your knuckles turn white, because what happened in the third round will absolutely blow your mind into a million tiny pieces. Not even the most imaginative scriptwriters in Hollywood could have penned a more dramatic, heart-stopping, emotionally complex twist if they had been given a year and an unlimited budget to try. Eala was set up for a colossal, once-in-a-generation, blockbuster showdown against the defending U.S. Open champion, the world number 4, and the reigning queen of American tennis, Coco Gauff. Now, let's rewind the tape for a crucial second here. Just 3 weeks prior to this Indian Wells collision at the Dubai Tennis Championships, Gauff had absolutely, mercilessly dismantled Eala, handing her a brutal, confidence-crushing, almost embarrassing 6-0, 6-2 defeat. It was a clinical masterclass by Gauff that left absolutely nothing to the imagination. She was bigger, faster, more powerful, and in complete, total, dominant control from the first point to the last. It sent Eala packing with a mountain of homework to do and some very serious questions to answer about whether she truly belonged at that elite level. So, heading into this Indian Wells rematch on the grandest possible stage, everyone, and I genuinely mean absolutely everyone in the tennis universe, expected Gauff to cruise comfortably through this matchup. The respected pundits, the seasoned commentators, the sophisticated analytics experts with their mountains of data had all written Eala off as little more than a minor speed bump on Gauff's smooth, inevitable road to another impressive trophy. But this time was different. Fueled by the roaring, deafening crowd turning Stadium 1 into something resembling Luneta Park on the most important national holiday of the year, and burning with a fierce, insatiable desire for redemption after that Dubai humiliation, Alex Eala stepped onto that court looking like an entirely, unrecognizably different player from the one who had been bageled in the UAE. She came out firing like an absolute, unstoppable cannon, completely neutralizing Gauff's terrifying, world-class power with a stunning, sophisticated variety of disguised drop shots, sharp slicing backhands, and relentless, aggressive baseline rallies that had the American constantly off balance and searching desperately for answers she simply could not find. Eala was painting the lines with the precision and artistry of a master. She was reading Gauff's serve like she had memorized the script in advance. She was moving with a lightness and a confidence that was simply breathtaking to watch. Before anyone in the stadium could even begin to fully process what was unfolding right before their eyes, Eala had snatched the first set 6-2 in dominant, emphatic fashion, leaving the American superstar standing at the baseline, staring blankly at her coaching box with an expression of sheer, undisguised disbelief etched across her face. Then, the unthinkable happened. The atmosphere in the stadium shifted in an instant, in a single heartbeat, from electric, jubilant excitement to a tense, eerie, deeply uncomfortable, almost reverent silence that was somehow even louder than all the screaming had been. Gauff, the player who is universally known for her supreme, remarkable athleticism, her extraordinary physical conditioning, and her seemingly indestructible competitive spirit, began showing visible, undeniable signs of severe and agonizing physical distress. The laser-sharp, trademark concentration that defines her game and separates her from the rest of the field completely and suddenly evaporated. Trailing 4-2 in the first set, Gauff had already been forced to call a medical timeout, looking genuinely panicked and frightened as trainers desperately worked to massage and provide urgent support to her left elbow and shoulder area. The crowd watched with collectively bated breath, reassuring themselves that it was surely just a minor tweak, a temporary issue that the talented American could surely push through as she had done so many times before. But as the second set got underway and Eala, showing absolutely no mercy whatsoever, quickly and ruthlessly jumped to a commanding 2-0 lead, it became devastatingly, horribly, unmistakably clear that something was genuinely, seriously, dangerously wrong. In a shocking, deeply distressing, and genuinely frightening moment, Gauff was forced into a rare mid-match retirement, marking only the second time in her entire professional career that she has been physically unable to finish a competitive tennis match. The images of her walking slowly and dejectedly to the net, visibly distraught and barely holding back tears, are images that will be etched permanently into the consciousness of tennis fans around the world for a very long time to come. She later sat down with the press and revealed the truly horrifying nature of the injury in terms that made everyone who heard them wince with sympathy. She described a sharp, intense, absolutely unbearable pain that felt like her arm was literally, genuinely on fire from the inside out. Gauff stated the sensation was like a firework going off inside her arm, a terrifying, alarming nerve-related scare that forced her to immediately, reluctantly, heartbreakingly pull the plug on her entire Indian Wells campaign in order to avoid the risk of catastrophic, potentially career-altering permanent damage. It was a tearful, devastating, genuinely gut-wrenching exit for the young American, who walked to the net and apologized profusely and genuinely to Eala in a moment of raw human vulnerability that transcended the competitive rivalry between them. Gauff has since been scheduled for urgent clinical MRI scans to determine the full and exact extent of the nerve damage, and her participation at the upcoming Miami Open now hangs precariously in the balance, leaving the entire global tennis community holding its collective breath in genuine concern for one of the sport's brightest, most beloved young stars. Now, let's talk about what happened in the immediate aftermath of this dramatic, chaotic, emotionally charged match, because what Eala did on that court in those next few minutes cemented her status not just as a brilliant, gifted athlete with a world-class tennis game, but as an absolute, undeniable class act and a genuinely remarkable human being. You see, March 8th was not just the day of this dramatic, headline-grabbing match. It was officially International Women's Day, and the significance of that timing could not possibly have been lost on anyone present in that stadium or watching from home. Standing right there in the very center of the court, with the microphone firmly in hand, cameras rolling across the globe, and the eyes of the entire international tennis community fixed upon her, Eala could have easily and justifiably celebrated her historic birth into the round of 16 in every triumphant way imaginable. She could have pumped her fists, soaked in the extraordinary glory of advancing past the world number 4, and basked in the love of her incredible fans. Instead, she made a choice that revealed everything you need to know about who she is as a person. She chose to shine the massive, blinding spotlight she had just earned completely elsewhere, directing it with grace, warmth, and genuine love toward those who deserved it most. She delivered one of the most heartwarming, articulate, emotionally resonant, and deeply mature on-court tributes of the entire year, directly addressing her fallen rival with grace and genuine affection. She spoke passionately about wanting to thank all the incredible women who have paved the way, who have advocated for themselves and for other women across every field and every corner of the world. And among those women, she singled out Coco Gauff herself, thanking her for being an amazing competitor, an amazing role model, and a genuine inspiration. Eala wished her injured rival a heartfelt, sincere, speedy recovery, demonstrating a level of deep, genuine empathy, extraordinary emotional maturity, and impeccable sportsmanship that goes so far, so immeasurably far, beyond her 20 years of age that it left veteran tennis observers genuinely searching for adequate words to describe it. But the beautiful, soul-stirring moments did not stop there on that remarkable evening. In a gesture that brought genuine, unashamed tears to the eyes of everyone watching both in the stadium and tuned in at home, Eala turned her gaze to the VIP box to honor the single most important woman in her entire life and journey, her beloved mother, Riza. She thanked her mom publicly, in front of the world, for being an amazing woman and for helping her become the resilient, strong, confident woman she is today. The response was immediate and heart-melting, as Riza blew emotional kisses from the crowd back toward her daughter in a beautiful, tear-jerking, genuinely perfect scene that captured the very essence and spirit of International Women's Day in the most human, authentic, unscripted way possible. Now, if you are a casual tennis fan sitting there scratching your head, wondering where on earth this girl came from, and how she is suddenly and comprehensively beating some of the very best players on the planet, then it is abundantly, undeniably clear that you completely missed the absolute, Category 5 hurricane that was Eala's 2024 and early 2025 season. Long before the Filipino diaspora transformed the Indian Wells complex into their own massive, joyful, deafening fiesta, Eala was already busy, methodically and relentlessly, putting the entire WTA Tour on the most serious of notices. Let's take a quick, essential trip down memory lane together. After absolutely dominating the junior circuits with a ferocity and a sophistication that had coaches and former champions raising their eyebrows in genuine surprise, becoming the world #2 junior in the process, and famously, triumphantly winning the prestigious 2022 US Open girls singles title in a performance that announced her arrival to the world stage with an enormous exclamation mark. The pressure was massively, heavily on for Eala to successfully make that notoriously difficult, career-defining transition to the professional senior game. And when it mattered most, when the pressure was at its absolute peak and the doubters were sharpening their pencils, she delivered in the most spectacular, emphatic fashion imaginable. Last year, she exploded onto the senior stage like a genuine supernova, producing results and performances that had the tennis establishment frantically rewriting their power rankings and their projections for the sport's future. She orchestrated an improbable, fairy tale, giant-slaying semifinal run at the Miami Open that had the entire tennis world talking for weeks afterward, taking down an absolute murderer's row of former Grand Slam champions on her remarkable march through the draw. She sent the powerful Yelena Ostapenko packing with a performance of controlled aggression that belied her years. She outhit the formidable Madison Keys in a battle of power and precision that had commentators reaching for superlatives they had previously reserved for the sport's all-time greats. And then, the absolute crown jewel of her entire run, the moment that truly announced Alexandra Eala to a global audience. She stood across the net from Iga Swiatek, the most dominant force in women's tennis, arguably the most dominant player in either game at that particular moment, stared her down without a single flicker of fear, and walked off that court victorious. That one sent shockwaves through the tennis world that are still reverberating today. She followed that magical, unforgettable Miami run with her maiden WTA final appearance on the beautiful grass courts of Eastbourne, claimed a hard-fought, well-deserved WTA 125 title in Guadalajara, and secured a historic, gritty, confidence-building main draw victory at the US Open. Because of this extraordinary, relentless, unwavering consistency across multiple surfaces and multiple continents, Eala skyrocketed from outside the top 100 all the way to her current ranking of 31 in the world, proving beyond every possible shadow of a doubt that she is not just riding a fleeting, lucky wave of temporary hype. She is the real, genuine, undeniable article, an elite competitor of the very highest caliber who is absolutely, definitively here to stay and to challenge for the sport's biggest prizes.
Yeah, I saw the stadium was really full. I looked up and there was Filipinos for days. So it's really such a blessing.
Yeah.
And you know what? Coco Gauff is calling it a night. That's unfortunate. Just the second time Coco Gauff